Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson at Infinity Whole Health. We are getting ready to embark upon the winter and the supposed cold and flu season, and what the powers that be that are going to try to force a bunch of ridiculous things back on the people of the world. So I just want you to know that if the body was that weak and succumbed effortlessly to any whim that was in the air that you breathe or anything in food, you would not be here listening to me. You would already be dead. So with that in mind, your body is quite strong. And as I've talked about in other videos and podcasts, I'll ask you just one quick question. Is the vast majority of the American people have a great diet, or do the vast majority eat fast food, eat out at restaurants, do not cook home cooked meals, do not eat enough vegetables, eat a lot of empty calories in the form of sugar, coffees, pastries, donuts, bread, all of that? Which is it? Do they have a really good diet, or are they eating basically the standard American diet that we call SAD? And you'd be correct if you answered the SAD one. And so if most people out there don't have a very good diet and their bodies are in disrepair as we speak, and we just had a quote unquote nasty virus come around that really should have wiped out most of the people if viruses and bacteria and funguses actually cause disease, because we could honestly say that most of the people in America are probably not very healthy. So they should be the ones getting sick the most. And yet there were no increase in deaths worldwide over the last 2 years as compared to history. So it didn't increase death at all, which means that viruses, bacteria, funguses are not very potent. So with that in mind, how can we then handle the stress of the fear that they will try to perpetrate on the American people? Number one, the stomach. If you've ever given a talk in front of people, or at high school, you remember your first speech class, and your stomach was literally knotted, and you thought you're going to throw up. I've been there. And, I've given hundreds, if not thousands of talks, public talks, talks at work, talks like this on the web and podcasts. And, it doesn't faze me anymore, but most people just don't do that. So it's kind of a nice, real, look at what happens. So if we're going to go speak in front of somebody, and we don't typically do that, we're going to find our stomach pretty knotted. Well, that's a response to a believed issue that may be in the future. It actually isn't happening now, but that response from your mind is actually now attacking your body. So with that in mind, you are attacking your digestive system, number one. You now inhibit your ability to digest. And with that comes, you start to inhibit the immune system, because a lot of our immune system sits in our small gut. It's kind of sitting there waiting for the possibility of some invading thing that it captures and looks at and says, we got to produce some antibodies to this and move on about our day. And so your body is constantly using the immune system, but you're actually attacking that too. You're also hitting up your kidneys, which means now you actually don't feel very confident. It really affects your ability to actually be out there and be in the world. You feel more reserved, more, like homebody. I don't want to go out there because there's fear out there. And so it's interesting that these weird things happen all because of what's going on in here. And so you may find that your energy is really low, and that even that your life force or your ability to just exist goes down. And that's where now more deleterious effects thinking kind of spiral down into weird things that we really shouldn't be thinking about. So with that in mind, now that we've affected digestion and now we've affected our immune system and we cannot detoxify and our kidneys are shut down, we start acidification of the cells of our body. Now, you've heard me talk about acidification of the gut. That's a good thing. Acidification of your cells is not a good thing. And with that then comes the effect of decreasing calcium, blood sugar instability. I mean, the dominoes just start falling when it comes to fear. And if you haven't heard the statistic, I love that it says 365 times in the Bible, fear not. Kind of a good reminder for every single day. But what happens when we allow fear, unrestraint, into our mind, if you will, and it's just kind of coming at us from every different direction? Well, we can definitely do some things nutritionally to help support the organs, because when we do that, it actually sends kind of a reverse message up and says, hey, we can handle this. You don't need to be freaking out here. So what begins to help digestion? So if the cells become acidic, we need to detoxify those cells. And how we do that is acidification of the gut. Because as those things start burning off, as the liver starts processing things, it will break down those acid things often into alkaline substances, and they can hit the gut and disrupt the gut. But not only does the body produce, or the cells produce, acidic things, it also produces alkaline products as well. And so all that your gut's got to handle. And anytime you're acidifying the gut, you're helping draw and denature products off of the body. And now you're starting to protect your immune system. You're starting to protect your ability to detoxify. You're starting to clean out the home around all the cells of your body. There's a thin, watery matrix around all the cells of our body, and that has to stay clean too. And if we can continue to draw all that off the body like we're supposed to with a natural diet, then we do just fine. So what does this natural diet look like, and how does it do that? If we were to eat root vegetables, eat regular vegetables, eat stuff that we grew in our own ground that's very fresh, that's enzymatically active, then all of a sudden we burn up that vegetable into alkaline ash products or minerals that actually go into the blood and now start to buffer the blood. The proteins that we eat from digesting, having a good strong digestion and digesting meat, fish, chicken, eggs, turkey, what have you, as we digest those proteins go into the blood, and they are also used as buffers to buffer acidity and alkalinity so that we stay fairly healthy. The biggest buffer is calcium. Second and third are a close tie for phosphorus and proteins, and then trace minerals down the road. But all those together help balance our blood so that the cells can detoxify gently and easily all the time and keep our liver flowing because it can detoxify. We don't have this massive debt load of toxins that we're constantly pouring into our system by eating fresh vegetables, good meat, good fats, and staying low on the things that tend to drain us, like carbohydrates that are empty calories. Now, if you're one of the few people out there that actually buy whole wheat grain, the little wheat berries, and you grind them up and make your own bread and pasta and things like that, this is not for you. You can actually eat those types of grains that are whole and raw, or rather ground immediately and then made into bread and other pastries. And now you've got the germ and all the nutrients, all the trace minerals, vitamins, nutrients, good fats, everything that's in that grain that helps us process that white flour. But unfortunately, that's not how it happens on most store shelves. If it was real bread ground from real grain made that day, it would last about 2 or 3 days on that shelf, and then it would be moldy. You'd get it to your house if you were lucky, and you might eat half it before it gets moldy. But then you'd know the bread was alive and it was actually good for you. So there's kind of a trade-off here. But I digress. So for most of us, we're just going to want to avoid grains in general. So bread, pasta, donuts, all the things that we love to eat, you're going to want to remove as much as you can from your diet. If you just cut half, that would be awesome. If you cut out even more, great. Do it. Those things will benefit you more than anything. So if we're eating fresher foods, fresh vegetables, and we're now really building up our system inside to kind of handle the onslaught, at least physically, wonderful. Other things that are good at acidifying the gut and trying to help repair. I'm going to say it, raw apple cider vinegar. And of course, adding a little raw honey to it would be excellent for taste, and doing that frequently would be awesome as well. So those are just kind of some basics. But if I look at just the tissues in general, most of those tissues are going to want high vitamin C and high vitamin A. So we're going to go after those deep green leafy vegetables. We're going to go after things like, sweet potatoes. We're going to go after things, if you can, and get good liver, and you like liver, chicken liver, doesn't matter as long as it's not diseased. Great sources of whole nutrients. Egg yolks, excellent. All these foods are very high potency foods that feed the system and help you handle the stress and the fear that you could be under. So I hope that kind of gives a little window into how does fear affect us? I mean, not only does it affect our adrenal glands that sit on top of the kidneys and our hormones, It's really starts at a mental toughness. And that's why, how do we create that in our mind? So if you have any questions, concerns about fear and how do you handle it, or maybe you're steeped in, maybe you have chronic anxiety now because of it and you've depleted yourself, globally, we'll talk about how do we begin rebuilding a body that's just been under stress over and over and over. And I have a couple products that I'll do with clients, and they will notice that, I know it doesn't taste good, but when I chew these, it totally helps me handle stress way, way better. I'm more calm. I notice my blood pressure's better. I notice my pulse rate doesn't get elevated, and I just think more clearly. And that's what it's all about, is really fostering the body's reserves so that when we come under some things that maybe we're not sure about, maybe it sounds plausible what powers that be or the authorities on the TV, the talking heads are actually saying, and it confuses us. And we're not sure. And now we've got some confusion in there, and we need to have some clear thinking, and we don't want to be, completely out of our mind worried, because now we're not in reality at all. And so those are things that, as we have a body that works better, you may find that you indeed think much more clearly. You'll find your sleep better. You'll find your work better because your energy will be better. So these things are all coming as we really dig in and repair the body. And you can do this. Really, you can. If you want some coaching, I'm happy to do that. Happy to give you some really simple tips on how do we begin that journey down as we see that end result of, hey, grains are almost all removed out of my diet. I'm eating excellent sources of protein that are grass-fed, so the fats are actually good for me. I'm eating fresher and fresher vegetables. I'm eating good sources of fat. I'm eating good sources of dairy that are not overly processed, that are more raw. And you'll realize that your taste buds get better and that food tastes so much better, so much alive. It's not so, it's hard to even eat food that's processed for me anymore because my taste buds are so sensitive, because I don't expose them to these excitochemicals that's in all of our food. And I haven't even done a video on excitotoxins that are in all of our food to make us think that the food tastes better than what it does. But it's out there, and it's stuff that we need to be kind of recognizing and realizing, you know what, I'm just going to start pulling back from all that stuff. I think it's a wise move that I get more natural and more natural and more raw and more like it was designed. So anytime you're doing that anywhere in your diet, you're doing a successful thing, in my opinion. So until next time, I'm Dr. Troy Munson. Thank you for tuning in.